Commence primary ignition.
I'm just not the hero type, clearly.
What a piece of junk.
Enterprise, this is the captain.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's all part of the plan.
Engage.
Welcome back to Podcast 2 for 1. I'm your host, Donovan Thompson, with my co-host,
Daniel Wingfield.
And today we are here with a very, very special guest, Mr. Joel Williams.
What up, Fandalorians? Of course, like you've said, it's me, Joel Williams.
There he is. There he is.
That's the best intro we've had from anybody.
Yes.
Fandalorians
is my favorite term. I think
it is.
It's great.
From all of our thousands and thousands of listeners, Joel has been our number one fan and our number one champion. So it's right and fitting that we finally have him on. And we're talking the Falcon and the Winter Soldier today. Very excited. And of course, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button below the notification bell. That way, up to date on all future episodes of Podcast 2 for 1. And of course, all the cool content at 2 for 1 Studios, like 2 for 1 Collectors and 2 for 1 Backflash. Guys, let's talk Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Let's do this.
Actually, before that, I want to kind of talk about Joel real quick. Let's talk about you.
Yeah.
Give us your comic and background history here.
Okay, so I started a little weird in comics, whereas most of you guys started directly with DC or Marvel. I started with Disney comics, right?
Okay.
So like Uncle Scrooge and all that. And I'll tell you right now, most people may mock it, but that's some of the greatest story writing you're going to find. Especially there's a collection called The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck that won an Eisner Award. So definitely check that out.
Yeah.
But I started with Archie Comics version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Adventures. And I also did Sonic the Hedgehog growing up. But as I grew up and started growing, I got into Marvel and DC really kind of progressed since the mid-90s. So we're talking about, I've been reading comics since the mid-90s. A lot of the big storylines that have come out that they're finally starting to do stories of, including the original one of Winter Soldier and of Isaiah Bradley. Don't judge me on that.
It's okay. It's okay.
And of course, if any of our frequent loyal listeners have forgotten, you wrote into the show a while back, and you've actually been in some DC comic movies.
Yes, technically I am a part of the DCEU, which is not the good ones though. Jonah Hex, which that made me really sad because I really love that character in that comic. I think it's really fascinating, and I just don't think they did the proper justice. But in that, I was a Union soldier that got exploded on the train, so stunt pay, yay! It's like, and then I was on a Green Lantern, which is Donovan's favorite.
Yes,
and I was a security guard that got tased.
That's awesome.
So
we pulled that up on the episode. I remember we watched that little clip right there in the episode because I remember you wrote in and we were like, he's been in Green Lantern. It was just kind of like this great moment. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there because it was a fun one. We've been dying to have you on.
Talk about it. Yeah, I never talk about it because I'm like, oh, that's not the good ones.
Oh no, I would wear that badge proudly. Even if it was Elektra with Jennifer Gardner, I would be like, I'm in that movie. I would tell everyone I know. I'd like shake their hand and say, have you seen Elektra? I'm in that movie. So it's
fair enough. Well, if you want more filmography, I can also tell you I was in a Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah. That was a little more fun. Yeah.
I actually really love that movie. I think it's fun.
It is. It's delightful. Yeah. I mean, the book's a lot better, but I mean, what isn't?
It's got amazing. Like you know me if you listen to the podcast that I'm all about what's the coolest way to kill a bad guy, and that movie delivers. So,
Silver pocket watch, punch it through his chest. Okay,
it's awesome.
Spoilers.
No, yeah. Hey, it's been a decade. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, as far as Green Lantern and stuff, I'm just a sucker for it. Like, I mean, I'm always in no matter what. I totally understand the issues with it. I mean, I started my love for Green Lantern with Jeff Johns' Rebirth. So I was right there at the kind of the precipice of it all. And, I get it, but I still I'm just tickled that I get to see these characters, period. So I enjoy that aspect of it, but I can step away and go, that's not what I would have done. Hey everyone, had a little bit of technical difficulties. So we're back. Unfortunately, we're just going to have to hear Joel's beautiful voice and instead of his beautiful and seeing his beautiful face at the same time. Joel, can you hear us?
I certainly can. And not only am I an actor of the film and stage, but I am a voice actor as well.
There you go.
Perfect. Well, yeah, this was a match made in heaven. Well, Joel, I just wanted to, we were talking about the DC movies and even the other movies you've been in. We're hot off the heels on the Snyder Cut. Have you seen it yet?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
I loved it.
Awesome.
But
Wow.
unfortunately, tagging on with a Donovan, I am one of those fans. I just love to get content. All right. So you give me any content, I love it. I mean, I've heard y'all's comments on The Last Jedi and also on Rise of Skywalker. I don't agree. There's a lot of those I really enjoy, and there's stuff I can pick out of it that's absolutely brilliant, and that's what I love about it. But I'm actually tying a lot closer to Donovan on this, because I think the biggest fault of the Snyder Cut is that its director is not a real comic fan. He made some choices that I think kind of cheapens what those characters are.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And also, I also doubly agree with you the fact that you're agreeing with me, because that means just more evidence that I know what I'm talking about.
I feel like we were pretty much on page for the Snyder Cut.
You were.
I don't feel like we
We
were
were on that.
You weren't disagreeing too much.
I was tagging back all the way to like episode 1, Daniel. Like everything I say is correct and everything you say is wrong.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Just remember, Donovan, everybody gets one.
That's true. Everybody gets one. Well, I get shit on a lot in this podcast, so I'm going to take anything I can get. No, but I agree. I mean, Snyder Cut, we were even talking in a few of the comments over the weekend with different people commenting on the video, and I enjoy it, and there's a lot about it I love, but I can sit back and go, I'm glad we got it, but it's also, this is not what I would have done with the DC universe. It's not would have been the first team up movie that I would have done. And again, I still think, even like going back to my Dark Knight comment, I like the Dark Knight, but it's not the best. The best is yet to come, and that applies to even Justice League. Sure. So one, and we can get into this a little bit more, but we had a small conversation before the podcast. I agree with you. I think DC, I love Marvel comics, but I think DC is hands down overall better in their comic area. They're also better absolutely in their animation. It's like Marvel doesn't even try in their animation. It's like the most they attempt is like cell shaded, and I don't mean it's in a bad way, but cell shaded like content for 7-year-olds, you know what I'm saying? And like, I don't mean in a bad way, but the budget is like, it's like
How dare you, sir? They put their heart in that.
No, they absolutely did with the budget they had. But I'm saying, it's like Boomba. Yes. Actually, Boomba's actually better animated, whatever that little kid show is. But that's my point. We look at DC and they're actually putting out pretty good animated content. Yeah. But then you have the movies, and you're right. Snyder, I don't think he fundamentally understands the characters he's working with. And he his two things, is his favorite two things of all time. He said it multiple times: is Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns. And both of those, really Watchmen, of course, more than that other one. It's a deconstruction of superheroes, and that's what interests him. And The Dark Knight Returns is just, it's a great. I have a copy signed by Frank Miller. I love it, but it's also, I think he even misinterprets that. He keeps saying Batman kills in it, and Batman does not kill in that comic book.
No, Joker kills himself.
Exactly. There's like multiple panels of dialogue that allude to the fact that he hasn't killed anybody. And when Joker kills himself, that's when the cops go after him hardcore, because he's like, he's killed. Exactly. Anyway, it blows my mind sometimes these people getting $200 million movies, and clearly he's talented, but also it's like you don't fundamentally understand what you're dealing with. On the flip side of that, now it's like people are getting bombarded with Restore the Snyderverse, and I've tweeted it. I want to see it on HBO Max. I've tweeted it multiple times, but I'm also like, it's not. I don't get it. I should say I don't get it. I don't get people's need or want or just obsession with it. But anyway, that's a whole other podcast. Yeah. We can talk about more of that later.
I'll be really quick with this if y'all allow me. I just two things, and I know we got to jump on something. I will say that the ultimate cut of Watchmen is one of my favorite things, and I do think Snyder was perfect for the world of Watchmen.
That's 100%.
He ties in for that entirely. And the second thing is, I love, as much as I even love the TV shows and all that, especially the Berlanti verse. As a huge Green Arrow fan, I will say that Arrow, they try to make Arrow too much like Batman. So
Oh yeah, I mean season 1 is, hey, let's look at the Batman Begins or Dark Knight aesthetic and apply it to Green Arrow so we can make Green Arrow cool.
it's like the man's supposed to have a sense of humor. Come on.
Yeah, 100%. Green Arrow is probably one of the most liberal characters in comics of all time.
Absolutely.
Like, he's
actually my favorite. Hands down, he's always been my favorite. In fact, I've got a signed copy of a hardback signed copy of the Rebirth run when Kevin Smith brought him back.
Yeah.
I've got a signed copy of that makes me happy when I look at it.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's really great.
But we're not here to talk about that.
Hey, we're here to talk about cool shit, and I think that's cool stuff. I got to piggyback real quick. Watchmen, the 3.5 hour cut of Watchmen, I think is incredible. I mean, if you read the graphic novel and then you read that, some people say you can't adapt it. I'm like, he did a pretty damn good job of adapting Watchmen.
Yeah, he did as good as you could do, I think.
I don't know how you could get better. And on the flip side of that, I think the HBO Watchmen TV show is incredible. Yeah. I think it's a great sequel to even the movie or the graphic novel. And
absolutely.
Other than, of course, it's not a direct sequel to the movie because of the ending, but you can look at it however you want. But anyway, Joe, I'm glad you're on. I can shoot the shit with someone who likes comic stuff. Anyway, let's talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We had a small break here from the MCU. Of course, we've been talking about WandaVision for a while.
Very small, 2 weeks, right? I think
yes,
2 weeks.
Very small. And we made the executive decision to kind of talk about the first 2 episodes here and forego that hot take after episode 1 so we can kind of have a fuller grasp of what the show might be. I think it was a good decision on our part because we kind of got, to me, I feel like episode 2 in, I have a good understanding, just A, based on my comic knowledge, and B, just movies in general, that I know where we're going to go, and I'm in a good way. So I want your guys' general thoughts, Joel, and start with you. How do you, just in general, how are you feeling about these first 2 episodes of Falcon Winter Soldier?
I think they're great. I think it sets it up perfectly, kind of the world we're dealing with now. Exactly, we know who the Falcon and Winter Soldier are, but you see where their arc is since they've been blipped back. I was delighted to find out they're both Tolkienites like myself. So that's fun.
Yeah. Yes.
Because a sorcerer is nothing but a wizard without a hat.
That's true.
I love it.
But
love it.
The fact they're combining this world now and they're giving us 2 story arcs that I absolutely love, which was the Black Captain America and U.S. Agent. I'm kind of like, oh, it's about to get real. I mean, if anybody wants to get the feeling exactly how kind of this is going to go down, that first fight on top of the semi where, U.S. Agent.
Oh, we lost some audio. I am sure he'll be back in a second. I'll pick up right where Joel was just to keep it going. So, and we'll get back to Joel's opinions on the second half in just a second. I thought it was great. I thought it really needed 2 episodes to set it up because I think the episode 1 was great, but it was almost like filler or backstory. How did we get to where we are right now, kind of thing, versus what's about to, like it gave you some hints of what's going to happen, but I feel like episode 2 is where we're actually getting to know the kind of antagonist group and understand what their motivations are, who they are in some way, and then of course, I mean, they actually hung out. They actually teamed up in episode 2. We actually didn't get Bucky and Falcon together in episode 1. I thought the action was great. I agree with you, Joel. I feel like they're telling some very nuanced and complicated stories, and that's always a good thing, in my opinion. I think the more we reach into kind of some real world issues and mirror some real world just kind of things going on, I think it makes it feel more real. It makes it feel like that, like the world, the things it does to the world building. And I think that to me is something that the MCU has just almost been perfect on, is the consistency of the world that everything exists in, and it feeling real, except with superheroes in it, kind of, right? Like it feeling like we're seeing some logic that would happen in the real world happen in this fantasy world. And I think this show to me is pushing that further in a really good way.
Yeah, the comparison between Marvel and DC, I've always said Marvel is tied in with the sense of reality of our world, whereas DC is modern mythology.
Yeah, it's a sentiment that keeps getting brought up, and we brought up on our past podcast, even the last one we did with Zack Snyder's Justice League. I agree with it, but also I think that for anyone who reads the comics for DC, they have problems. They have human problems.
Oh, they do.
That's what makes them interesting. I know you understand that, but it seems like everyone else doesn't. At least the vocal minority who just, we want this certain vision we're getting with Snyder, and I'm like, yeah, but like, how do you relate? I don't know. I get it. Superman's hard. Like, that's a hard character to write, but also Captain America is a hard character to write because they both have these. They have strong moral fiber. Both of them do. I would say Captain America is a little easier than Superman, probably. But anyway,
sort of. You got to write for a 1940s man in the modern era, right? And I think the best description of it was in Punisher Warzone Civil War, right? Which was the Punisher arc. He actually fought with Captain America, and he describes him. He says, "Look at him. He's barreling headfirst with a shield into a molten man." They don't make that anymore. There you go.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's funny you brought that up because other 2-for-1 alumni, Matt Mitchell, we talked about that exact moment on Saturday. So it's funny you brought that up.
Joel, now when you cut out, you were kind of talking about U.S. Agent and what excited you about them doing things with Isaiah Bradley, Black Captain America, and U.S. Agent. I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to kind of continue with that thought.
The thought I just wanted to make was you see the turn where the difference between U.S. Agent and Captain America is when he's sitting there fighting, he looks like Captain America. He's finally Captain America. Then he pulls the gun. And that's when it all changes right there. And you're starting, even in episode 2, you're starting to see that darkness a little bit into them when they decide to not work with each other. So it's going to come out soon.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it definitely... If you look at the I can't think of the name, not Shadow Broker, maybe it is Shadow Broker, but anyway, it's whoever gives them superpowers. If we follow that arc, it's what did Erkenstein say that it amplifies what's inside, and I think we're going to probably get more. Even though I think John Walker is a decently good guy, I do. I mean, he seems like a good soldier, and he's trying to do what's right. But there's going to be things that we haven't seen yet, either his backstory that's probably going to reveal some probably PTSD or some other things that's going to amplify those things. I think episode 2 is a great signifier that he's outmatched right now. Like he's got the shield, but he doesn't have the power. Yeah. And that was very clear about how the fight ended,
Now, as someone that's less comic literate, can you guys give me a little bit, maybe not spoil what you think the arc will be, but is U.S. Soldier, is he a good guy? Is he in the comics? Is he a anti-hero, superhero? Like, what? I mean, I know it's very similar that he takes over for Captain America after Steve Rogers retires or dies, I'm assuming. But I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what I should feel about and what I should expect from his character. Do you guys have any insight or maybe what you're expecting?
I yield the floor to Representative Donovan.
I always kind of attribute U.S. Agent is like almost a mix of the Punisher and Captain America. I mean, he's not as balanced as any of these people. I think he's kind of flipped sides multiple times. I think initially he's supposed to be a good guy and kind of ends up going the other direction. I don't know too much about U.S. Agent. I might have to refer back to you, Joel.
There you go.
Yeah, but I know the general
Battlestar is his sidekick, I guess.
Yeah, his
Falcon.
He's been in the yes, yeah, they've been together. Yeah. Yeah, Joel, you said you read the Ed Brubaker stuff. I've read some of it. I read more almost like pre and then post Civil War, like right at the tail ends there. And I kind of missed the Winter Soldier taking over for Cap. I mean, I was there at that time, but I wasn't really reading that stuff. And I didn't really read Captain America until probably 2012, 2013. So I kind of missed that gap. Yeah, I missed that gap. I mean, I was there, but I just wasn't picking them up, So Yeah.
What you're dealing with is, and it's really kind of cool. U.S. agent is kind of like you said. He's a modern soldier. Is the best way you can say it. And the lines are coming from the Cold War and America becoming a superpower. It's really testament about how our country has evolved, right? And so there was a period where Captain America gave up the shield and he disappeared for a while, and our Steve did, and they needed a new Captain America. But instead of calling him Captain America, they called him U.S. Agent. And he is almost this black ops soldier who, yes, he's supposed to represent the ideals that Captain America does, but he's a little gray. And it ends with a big conflict between him and Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Which
I don't
obviously
think that's going to happen here.
probably won't. I mean, the thing is, there's so many I mean, there's been rumors about Steve Rogers being cast in the next official Captain America movie. I've seen those. I've seen, and even, I mean, the fact is the way that they killed him off, which we don't even know if he's actually dead yet. We just know he's old.
They never said he died.
I didn't see a body. He's not dead.
Yeah, exactly. And even then, when I've seen bodies before, they come back.
Yeah, I know. Very true.
Doesn't matter.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
It would be so easily done in the world lore to bring Steve back, even if it's just for a moment.
We've had so many podcasts where I've been just preaching that he's going to come back. It's going to be it's going to be a Secret Wars scenario. It's going to be like the epilogue. Like Endgame was the finale. Here's the epilogue. So
Right.
Yeah,
it's going to happen. And it might be like, it might not be a very earned cameo. It people may feel like it's just 100% fan service, and it probably will be that. But I'm okay with it because I'm okay with it in this case.
Totally. I mean, they're changing things a little bit up and going away from the comics, but you kind of have to because you have to make it fit this type of media, and they're doing an excellent job. I mean, let's be honest. With y'all speculation, you can speculate all you want, but if WandaVision taught us anything, you don't know what's going on.
100%.
True.
Yeah, I was ready to give away my life earnings for WandaVision speculation. I was pretty convinced.
And it was
I know y'all were. It was fun.
Yeah.
Were you now? Did you see through it the whole time, Joel? Were you aware that?
Totally.
Okay. Well, I guess
I don't believe you.
You're a better man than us.
No, I didn't realize at all. I thought they were gonna, do the joint, and they gave us that teaser of Ralph Boner, which I thought was hilarious. Y'all hated it. I thought, well done. Way to play the trolls.
I mean, yeah. I just think they did it a little too well. They got more than just the trolls. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
that stung a little bit, didn't it?
Oh, it's stung more than a little bit, but. It really feels like, and maybe they're just saving face, but like I've listened to a lot of interviews now with the director, the showrunner, and it seems from what they're telling us that it was never meant to be more than it was, and it was kind of X, Y, and Z, and I feel like based in the medium you're working with and the fan base you're working with, you might have a little more insight than that for the future, but also I can see that when you're living with something for 2 years and you don't, you have a path. You're not thinking about sometimes 2-3 years down the road with one line of dialogue. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. I can see the mishap.
But I've also read that that basically they were saying Falcon and the Winter Soldier much more straightforward. Like there was articles coming out like, don't expect to have crazy fan theories because of this show kind of thing.
Yeah, but to what you're saying there, but it feels that way too. Like, I mean, even though we still have a thread with Travis and Daniel and I where we typically talk after almost any MCU or whatever show, Star Wars, whatever, independently of the podcast, but it feels different. Like now, it feels like even with episode 1, it's like, okay, we're getting a typical action movie with heart, humor, and spectacle, but we're not having these crazy theories. I'm saying we're just talking kind of whenever. I'm saying like the type of show it is already warrants the speculation to immediately go down. I'm saying like I feel like we have a good understanding what's going to happen. I'm saying, at least for the most part.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, this show feels like a Captain America movie, just in tone, in pacing. It feels like Winter Soldier, or and I mean, I still feel like Winter Soldier is the best Captain America movie, one of the best MCU movies, and it has that methodical, slow, build it up in the right way kind of feeling. It doesn't feel like we're being rushed into anything. I mean, even the fact that we didn't get Bucky and Falcon teaming up till episode 2, I feel like shows some restraint almost, because I think, you know, the instinct in some sects of the entertainment world is just get to the action as quick as possible, get to the buddy cop, get to the, you know, the action and the sexiness. But I feel like that, especially just that first episode where they are building in backstory and they're taking time to emotionally establish where these characters are and the impacts of the previous things we've been watching on the big screen has had on them. Like, I mean, I think Bucky's therapy was great. Not only was it shot in a really, I think, intentional way that I think added to it in cinematography. It just, I felt like it was actually coming off of WandaVision, and I still feel like my favorite thing of WandaVision was how they handled the idea of trauma and mental health in a very informed way. And my wife is a counselor, and she is like saying, yeah, this is all in line with kind of modern mental health theory and kind of practice. And I think that was amazing. And I love that they're kind of continuing that with Bucky and Falcon, but they're just kind of doing it. Bucky is dealing with PTSD from what he's done or was forced to do. And Falcon is dealing with his identity in a modern America that has the same racial tensions that we experience. And I just think that's just good storytelling. It's people understanding what makes good stories. Yes, you got to have the action, you got to have the fights, you got to have the funny buddy cop, you know, messing with each other stuff. That's great, but you've got to have that underlying core of like genuine emotion, genuine issues that these characters are dealing with. And I think because of that, it's like, I have a feeling I'm going to be even more, I mean, I love these characters already, but I can already tell I'm going to have a much deeper love for them after we finish going on this journey.
Entirely. I think I agree with you entirely. I mean, basically they're following the Pixar and Studio Ghibli method, which is story first.
As it should be, you know, as it should be. You know, you don't have to, I feel like I'm picking on Snyder a lot lately. Hey, I've seen the movie 4 times. I've seen it 4 times, and I've seen the parts of the black and white edition. Like, I haven't finished it completely if I'm working on my 5th time. But there's something to say about story over visuals. Like, not every frame in Falcon the Winter Soldier is beautifully shot. I mean, there's mistakes, or there's things that aren't, you know, painterly, right? And there's probably things shot more for coverage than there is for intent, just by nature of what they are, which is good and bad. But at the end of the day,
the fight scenes, right? Like the fight scene, like the semi truck scene, or the in episode 2, like it was good, but I don't feel like it was not at the level of action you were getting in any of the fights in the Snyder cut, right? Like no, and that's but it works better as a whole, even though we're not necessarily getting the jaw drop.
Yeah, well, action scenes only work at their fullest whenever you care. Two things. A, whenever you care about the characters that are involved in the action, and B, if the action is telling a story. The action has to tell a story. We're learning through the trailer fight with Walker, U.S. Agent, Captain America, and Falcon and Bucky. A, we're learning Falcon and Bucky's dynamic. B, we're learning what U.S. Agent, Captain America, keep calling him U.S. Agent, he's not U.S. Agent yet. Captain America, we learn his physical abilities, how he handles a fight. We're learning information through the fight, and that's what makes it interesting, or what you care about. I do want to go back a little and kind of talk a little bit about through the episodes, kind of what worked for us, what didn't work for us.
Yeah.
Episode 1's called New World Order. Bare bones of it, we're kind of getting the everyday life aspect of these two characters. They haven't really come together yet like we see so much in episode 2. So we get a little bit of hint of the Flag Smashers and what they're doing. We get Falcon doing his, solo mission a little bit with Bartrock the Leaper, who we saw in Winter Soldier come back.
So is that a character from the comics? His little sidekick? Okay.
Yeah.
Is he a sidekick to Falcon?
You're talking about? Oh, you're talking about his
His
the
little
guy.
his little partner that's doing this reconnaissance.
Oh,
since
I
him the
don't-
information is
I think he's somebody. I don't know. I was talking
Okay.
more so about Bartrock the Leaper, who is the
That's
bad
the
guy
villainy
from
plot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the-
Yeah.
in the-
Okay. In the helicopter fight.
yeah, in
Okay.
Winter Soldier. He's the one Cap takes his helmet off, and they're like, "Let's see if the shield is more than if you're more than the
Yeah.
shield." So we had that cool connection. And what I really liked about the episode, two things. Of course, I love anything to do with the idea, the symbol of the shield, what Sam does with it after Steve gives it to him. That's the thing I've been waiting for the most since Endgame.
Yeah.
Is that piece of information on top of we see Don Cheadle. And then the cool
That was
thing about
nice.
seeing Falcon in his everyday life and seeing Bucky dealing with the PTSD. So what's your guys' thoughts? I gave you a lot basically of the episode, but what's your guys' general thoughts on these specific things?
Joel, go for it.
Sure. Well, first thing, I just want to say one thing. Zack Snyder said that we were childish for thinking heroes didn't kill people. So you say whatever you want about him, Donovan.
To be
Take that-
fair,
Yeah, I mean,
Marvel
it's-
heroes
it-
have killed plenty of people, and they've done whole movies about it. So,
I mean,
Exactly.
every character in the MCU kills somebody besides basically Spider-Man. I mean, like, and that's a good thing because it makes
even he accidentally kills Gwen Stacy. So
yes, yeah, and that's a great
but
thing in
that
the
hasn't-
comics.
has that happened in the MCU?
No,
yet.
no,
no.
Did it
and
happen
even
in
in the
Amazing Spider-Man 2? Is it that? Didn't she die?
yes, yeah, but it's even.
It's not his
I think
fault.
it is well. It depends on how you look at it. What's great about the comics that they kind of repeat over and over is that he himself doesn't know if he killed her or not, but he has a pretty good idea that he probably did subconsciously. So it's kind of like, do what? I'm sorry, Joe.
So he carries the guilt.
He absolutely carries it as if he did, but he just kind of like gives himself a little leeway, like I'm not sure if I did, kind of thing. But and yeah, exactly. And what killed her technically was when he webbed her, the whiplash of webbing her snapped her neck, and that's what actually killed her. It's, it's always the Green Goblin killed her before he dropped her off, or did I kill her when I grabbed her?
Sure.
And it's been addressed multiple times.
Sure.
But you're right, Joel. Hey, let's just shit on Zach for a second. Was I okay with Superman killing Zod? When I first watched it, I immediately flinched. I've come to be more okay with it, of course, just because I just have become I think maybe numb to it or what X, Y, and Z. But personally, I would rather Superman not kill people. Even though in the comics he has killed Zod before. I mean, I've seen literally him like laser Zod into dust before in a panel, like in the 60s, whatever. So it's a little different. But I would say that no, he typically doesn't kill anyone, or he shouldn't kill anybody. And it doubly goes for Batman because that's like the essence of the character itself.
It's the mythology, yeah.
100%. I mean, it makes, again, if you've listened to any of our podcasts, it just makes no sense that why Joker's alive. And again, if you're going to have Superman kill, then you definitely don't have Batman kill because then it creates a contrast.
Exactly. I was going to say that. Like, I didn't hate him killing Zod, because I feel like he worked it into it was a part of the plot. It was a part of his character development and his arc in that movie, was having to choose to kill his own race to save what is choosing to be his like people, the humans. And so
Well,
I
it's one
felt
of
like
those
it made
situations-
sense where it's like he felt like he had no choice, and so he felt forced to do it, and he did it, but he showed regret and remorse, and I felt like they worked it in a way that worked for me.
He does show regret and remorse. Here's the thing: is we talked about this last time, Daniel. Is that Zach either goes one way or the other. He's too subtle or he's too in your face. This is the case where he was too in your face. He was trying. The way he structured the scene was like he's holding Zod's head and he's using laser this family. And like if you're really looking at it, like the Zod's eyeballs only go so far, like his parallax vision. He could just do this, like and look and get them. Like holding someone's neck doesn't stop their eyes from moving. At a certain point, right? But that's the thing is like you can still get that message across. Keep Superman a hero and be a little more subtle about it. He can still.
Well,
I mean,
subtlety
he did
is
it-
not Zach's strong suit. fair.
Yeah, well, again, it's either he's too subtle or he's just too in your face. He doesn't have typically a happy medium.
Now
Sorry.
back to Falcon and Winter
Sorry,
Soldier.
back to Falcon and Winter Soldier. Joel, you're riling me up here. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
getting riled up.
That rant was brought to you by DC Comics. Thank you, DC Comics, for not actually.
Well, I think part of my umbrage is coming. I have been deep diving into all these other podcasts with the actual people who are like basically listed as associate producers in the Snyder
it's
Cut.
on all of their Twitter profiles. Like if
So
you
I've
look
been
at anything mentioning anything mentioning the Snyder Cut, there will be a top comment with their name, and it will have some kind of Snyderverse or Snyder Cut as their Twitter name, and you click on it and it says associate producer of the Snyder Cut. Like that's the first thing on their bio.
I've been deep diving into all these different podcasts. I've been following them for a while now, but now I'm been really getting into it, and I've just been sitting there like doing my nightly walks, and I'm just like shaking sometimes. and I'm just like, man, I would love to have a conversation with some of the, and I'm not trying to shit on what they love, but this one that when people say something that I just feel like you don't have a 100% grasp on the medium that it's based on of, and then B, the medium it's presented in, then it's just, it gives me almost, I don't have anxiety, but it gives me almost anxiety. Anyway, let's talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, boys.
Yes. So back to what, Joel, you were talking about how you felt about that first episode.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to go down the rabbit hole. Here we go.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, hey, that's what it's for. That's what the podcast is for. So
that's exactly right. We don't have a format and a structure for a reason.
I love the first episode. I mean, because you did get to see the real world, and I'm a sucker for real life problems anyway. I mean, you see the financial troubles that Falcon is actually dealing with, and at the same time, the fact there's still this level of racism that we're dealing with. I mean, it is Louisiana. No offense, Louisiana. And at the same time, how he's feeling about the shield, and he didn't want it. He didn't feel like it was the right thing. And then you go to Bucky, and Bucky is dealing with the PTSD. Like you said, he's dealing with actually feeling remorse for what he's done. So he's befriended the innocent that he killed. He befriended his dad. He's trying to work up the courage to talk to him. But there's just so many jokes about it all the way through that I'm just like, this is the stuff I like. I like you showing them growth, how they're trying to become, what they're dealing with. And I think it was really excellently done. And yeah, you get a little bit of the Flag Smashers and Bartok the Leaper, and that's
Oh, I think we lost you for a second there.
Joe.
I'll jump back on what you're just piggybacking off what you're saying. I felt the exact same way about just how they were showing the personal side to each of these characters and how they felt so unique too. I'm not sure if Falcon is Cajun in the comics or if he's from Louisiana in the comics, but I just loved that they decided to hone in on that detail and just make it feel unique or just a part of the world that the MCU hasn't done much in terms of representing much. And I just think that's fun and cool, makes him feel different, makes him feel unique. And like you said, it puts his family, it cements him back into the real world where he's got this, blood family that is a part of a dying industry and him trying to take care of them. I love the whole, did Tony Stark pay you guys bit in the
that was a nice touch, yeah.
Because it's also like one of those fan theories where like, do they pay the Avengers? It's like one of those random weird questions you come up with when you're thinking about the movie late at night. Like, I wonder how they pay their bills.
Yeah.
And I just
something we've talked about a lot.
Tony Stark can't pay them. He's too busy spending it all on alcohol. That's comics, though. So
there you go.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it also kind of feels like that's an oversight. He probably should have thought about that, paying the people that are doing this.
It is interesting. It is interesting. It's an interesting thing.
I get it because it's like the matters they're facing are always so dire and world level threat that no one's thinking about money. Because if we don't do this, the world ends.
But they only face those things every 6 months. We only see the most dramatic parts of their lives. We don't see the
fair.
They don't fight aliens every day. I do think it's a little weird. I think it's a great question to bring up. I think the answer is they don't get paid is almost like they don't. Like how has anyone done anything then? You know what I'm saying? And typically I think it's almost a little unheroic to kind of get money off your license. You know, it makes it feel like The Boys where you're making money off your superhero. Yeah. And I think it's a little weird. I would have preferred them to say there's a foundation or a fund or something that helps us X, Y, and Z, or at least have say Tony funds us, or the Tony Foundation funds us, or whatever. But I mean, I'm okay with it. Again, I don't care too much about it.
I did kind of like the whole line where he's like, people just typically have a lot of goodwill for us because we've saved the planet, which also kind of makes sense. Yeah, I mean, if there was like individuals responsible for saving the entirety of Earth, I bet they would get a lot of free stuff.
Well, it's kind of like the cop when he goes to a coffee shop and they get a free coffee.
Yes, the extreme version. But to flip to the other side, I thought I agree with you, Joel. The stuff with Bucky and I can't remember the name of the old man, but yeah, the flashbacks to that murder that he killed basically was just like a wrong place, wrong time guy that just witnessed something he shouldn't have witnessed, and so he got killed. And then him trying to come to a place to tell him. I thought the date he went on, I think, worked really well, just showing Bucky's inability to connect with people because of what he's going through. And also just his feeling out of place, out of time, just still like feeling like sometimes you forget that he's from the 40s, but then they do things, I think, that remind you, oh yeah, this guy's like not from around here kind of thing. And I think the fact that they took a whole episode to do that is really encouraging to me, because it just sets the tone and the pacing. And when you do that, you just set such a solid foundation that now you can build so much more effectively. And I feel like, episode 2 was still doing that, but it gave us a bit more mix of action and plot with the character stuff. But at the same time, the character stuff they do when they go visit Isaiah, or even on the way to visit Isaiah, and that kid is like, oh, look, it's Black Falcon. And he's like, no, it's just Falcon. Like that little moment it could almost feel insignificant in just kind of the passing nature of it, but it was a big thing. And it was really interesting, even just showing Falcon's own personal identity and what he's wrestling with. Is he the Black Avenger, or is he just an Avenger that's black? You know what I mean? Like, I think that stuff is so interesting and makes them just feel so much more compelling. And yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing that the whole show will be riding on, which is how episode 1 ends, right? So we have Falcon, he gives up the shield at the beginning because he thinks, as he says, it's what's right. And by the end of it, it shows it's weird, not weird. It's 100% what you imagine would happen, that the government pats him on the back and says, thank you, X, Y, and Z, you're doing the right thing. And then they turn around and the government, as always, wants control, right? So they're income off A is the government just they come off as racist, of course, because they're, instead of going back to the guy who gave it to them, who is clearly a great choice in and of itself, they pick someone else that happens to be white, which you could argue is intentional, which I think it is for the show purposes.
100%.
And then you it automatically you start dealing with the ultimate question, which is something we talked about. Can Superman be black? In this case, can Captain America be black? Mm-hmm. And the answer, of course, is what we said before, and of course he can. But
also that we're living in a country, and they're representing an accurate view of a country that would have issues with it.
Yes.
And I think that feels realistic. That feels compelling. I think it's. I think
it's more interesting than is Steve. What if Steve Rogers was black? I think it's more interesting than that. Yeah. And we're kind of getting that though a little bit with Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah.
We're getting both versions. We're getting Captain the Greatest Generation Captain America black, and then we're getting the modern Captain America black, and in the same story.
Now,
I thought.
Joel, now you said you're really familiar with, you've read that Isaiah Bradley comic line.
Yeah.
Now I've done a little research, but now he makes some references to things in the past, being in jail for 30 years for what he did. Apparently, can you give us any kind of just light backstory on what exactly happened and why he went to jail, or what that was about?
Well, what the whole entire premise is what this really is on. It's basing on the Tuskegee experiments and things like that our
Yeah.
government had done, which, you took the black community and you started testing them for syphilis and things like this. It's why you have such a strong opinion of not trusting the medicine or medical professionals now because of things like that. It still stings into in that society. But it's the same thing here. Basically, you took somebody, pulled them off, and they tested the super serum on them first. They kind of get into it, but they don't really get any further than that. How much further did they go with this? But he is the first successful test of the super soldier serum. I actually
Before
don't
Steve?
recall. Yeah, before Steve.
Okay.
They tested him first to make sure it would work.
Gotcha. Okay, so they're the guinea pigs.
Yeah, they were the guinea pigs.
Gotcha.
And I think that's why that was such an intriguing storyline, because like suddenly we're like, what happened now?
Yeah.
But he sort of played Captain America and Black Ops missions during the Cold War, and after Steve disappeared. So nobody really knew about him, and I can't recall exactly what he did that got him in prison, but the idea is like he did something, sent him to prison for a while.
I think what I read was he was being sent on a mission to Germany to stop more super soldiers being created, and he stole Steve's suit and shield to do the mission with. And then when he got back, they put him in prison for that. He completed the mission and was successful, but then they put him in prison for taking the shield and the suit for 30 years. So
yeah, no,
I'm pretty sure that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think in the comics, I think it's like 17 years versus the 30.
Yeah, that's correct.
Very very minimal differences here, and obviously that for whatever reason. But whenever he started talking to him in episode 2, I immediately I didn't know too much about Isaiah, but I knew he existed in the comics.
Yeah.
And I immediately knew, I was like, hey, is this who I think it is? And it was. And when he throws that sardine can,
Awesome.
To me, that is one of my favorite things I've seen so far in the first 2 episodes. There's something about it I just love. And I want so bad, either I want to see a flashback with him.
Yes,
Fighting Bucky. We need to see what happened. Yeah.
Or I want to see him do something in the present day, or both. Give me both. I would love it if he come back in some form or fashion. I'm not sure that.
I almost can't believe they introduced him like that to not bring him back at some point. You know what I mean? Because he's too cool.
He's super cool. Yeah.
I think they're setting up Young Avengers, in all honesty. I think we're going to see the Patriot show up.
Was that the kid that answers the door?
Yes.
Yeah. That's because Isaiah Bradley's grandson finds a super soldier serum and creates his own version, and he is what's called the Patriot.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of puzzle pieces. We have the twins from WandaVision. We have Riri Williams from, that was announced. We have Miss Marvel. We have all these younger characters that are starting to pop up rather soon. And I think you're right on the money. We're going to get a Young Avengers. And
I wonder how that will be marketed. I wonder if they'll try to make that like a young adult kind of marketed thing.
Well, that's basically what Runaways was.
Yeah, exactly.
I never saw Runaways. Was that
it's good? The comic's better, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Our listener J3, she's actually been watching Runaways quite a bit lately.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, she has. Yeah, no, I think it'll be like anything. It'll probably be they say Homecoming is like John Hughes kind of thing. I think it'll be a similar. I wouldn't say John Hughes, but I would say it's leaning probably more into that demographic. Of course. But it'll be another flavor that will end up building up into. The good thing is about the Young Avengers that you have them young. That in 5 years they're going to be regular Avengers because the actors are going to age. So.
Yeah.
Right. Along with Hawkeye's daughter, of course, she's been brought back from the staff, and she was learning marchery. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what Hawkeye's show is going to be about, right? It's him passing the torch to her.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've got a lot of torch passing right now at the moment, in a earned way, in a good way. I've never actually been a fan of. I kind of always hate it when superheroes get kids. I'm kind of stuck in my ways. I want Peter Parker to be the character that I follow, but when they do it, but I can't deny whenever you have someone like Miles Morales come in, and they earn this character with their powers and their backstory, it feels good. You're like, okay, well, they can coexist, and you can have your cake and my cake, and we can both eat it. But no,
a lot of Batman. That's all I'm saying.
There is a lot of Batman's got his own universe basically. He's like Spider-Man.
Bat family.
He's got a huge Bat family. But we end on the first episode with John Walker.
Yeah. And
the internet. That's kind of the thing. If I saw anything about on the show is like kind of how he's Captain America light,
Mm-hmm.
and it's me putting it lightly. You see a lot of comparisons with the character from Up. And I think that reaction is exactly what you were supposed to feel.
It's exactly what you're supposed to feel.
But I think there's also some interesting parallels between even the U.S. agent we got. I keep calling him U.S. soldier, U.S. agent in episode 2, and like the first half of Captain America 1, where Steve is just a propaganda piece for like the first 3 quarters. Like they don't ever let him go out and do duty till the end. And I think it's pretty identical how they're treating him in those ways.
It's funny you said that, Daniel, because the episode is called the episode's called "The Star Spangled Man," which is the same song that they use whenever they're showboating Cap around in first movie.
Cap in the OG uniform.
Yeah,
that makes sense. And so I think I liked how that paralleled. I liked seeing kind of like, yet it's still kind of the same old government doing same old government things. Trying, like you said, trying to be in control of messaging and all that kind of stuff.
I would like to add real fast. We were talking about the cinematography earlier for some of the fights and things like that. I think it was actually intentionally shot that way because what you're seeing with the cinematography they have is a much more gritty, realistic fight. It's not as elaborate as, say, some of the other stuff we've seen. It's just straightforward and down to earth, which is exactly what this whole entire show is about.
Yeah, for sure. It has that Winter Soldier. They crank up the frame rate. It's got more modern quick cut, so I mean it definitely feels, there's so many little things that they just carried over from Winter Soldier that they should have, like Sharon Carter will come up in a future episode, Baron Zemo's in Civil War, which are part 2 of Winter Soldier basically, and you have Bartrock from episode 1 that's in Winter Soldier. It's the first thing he fights independently that Cap fought independently. They're definitely leaning into that, and it's a good thing because I've said it multiple times. If someone walked up to me and said Captain America: Winter Soldier is the best MCU movie of all time, I couldn't be like, you're wrong. I can't say it like it with a straight face. There's a good argument there. But no, I think it's great. I'm loving it all. Do you think Sorry. I was going to say, do you think, I think we all felt that pain that Sam sees whenever they give the shield to John. Do you think, though, that they're in episode 2, Sam and Bucky are kind of cranking up a little bit the animosity more than they should be towards John? I'm curious your guys' thoughts.
I think he's just their vessel for their anger right now and their hurt and betrayal. But at the same time, Bucky's dealing with the fact that he said, Steve gave it to you. Why'd you give it up in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole point of the therapy session, which was adorable, by the way.
It was adorable.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I think that the getting into the therapy session, I wasn't 100% sure why Falcon was there. I was like, wait, why is he here? Like, I thought this was just Bucky's therapy.
It is. That's just called plot.
It is. It felt a little weak on the justification there. But that delivered maybe one of the best lines of the episode, where Bucky, he's like, "Why are you so upset?" He's like, "Because Steve gave it to you because he believed in you, and if you gave it up because he was wrong about you, then maybe he's wrong about me too." And I thought that was killer. I thought that was a great line and a great, like, okay, I get it now too. I kind of get where his, because I even thought the animosity between them at times felt a little bit like, but they just got back together and they're just already like kind of at each other's heels a bit. But when that line happened, I felt like, okay, that actually provides what to me seems like some good motivation for that tension. And
Exactly.
And I think the tension too with U.S. Agent, it's like, not only is he been given what was not supposed to be given to him, he's also like given the title Captain America, and kind of is this imposter to their whole world. And I think there's even some, I like how they're even showing him, like John Walker, with some imposter syndrome, right? Like feeling like I'm not worthy of, I'm not a super soldier, right? But yeah, I think that overall it felt very natural. There was a couple times where I was like, it felt a little more plot motivated, but I think once they got to the motivations, it made things feel real. Made things feel good.
Yeah, like I said, the writing is spot on. It pushes it forward.
Yeah, you know, I agree with you a little bit, Daniel, that there is times where, you know, it's a little on the nose. I still have a problem with, my only big problem with the MCU most of the time is the fact that they kind of insert humor sometimes, where I would like a little more for them to double down on the drama, just because I feel like they're kind of afraid sometimes to do it because they're afraid of cliches. And I'm always cliches are cliches because they work. There's a time and place when to do that. But I will say that if anyone had any doubt as to if Sam was worthy of the shield, his line after the line you just said, where he mentioned, "Did it ever occur to you or Steve that I am doing what's right?"
Or that he said that I'm did what I thought was right. I did. Yeah, I was trying to do what I thought was right.
Yeah, and that is what makes him worthy of being Captain America, is that line right there. And even in Anthony Mackie's delivery, like, to me, whenever he said that, I mean, I thought it whenever Steve gave him the shield, but if there's any vindication, you know, even I think there's moments in episode 1, X, Y, and Z, but if there's any doubt, it's right there. To me, it's like, everyone else who's arguing, you should not argue anymore, because this is why he deserves to be Captain America. And I love it. I think it's great. I'm very excited for what we're going to see. I will say this: the showrunner has come out and said to be looking out for episode 5. We talked about WandaVision earlier, because they said there's going to be some interesting and crazy cool things that's going to happen. So they're already pumping up the hype train after they, you know, destroyed our hearts.
After they destroyed the hype train.
Yeah. That's the power of Marvel, dude. I'm back on it. You know, it's easy.
Yeah. I do want to throw it too. I loved the line. I think, what is it, Bucky that asked U.S. Agent, how many grenades have you jumped on or something, when they're arguing? 3. He's like, yeah, 3. Actually, I've got this helmet thing I do, or this reinforced helmet thing. I was like, that's pretty great. Yeah. That's pretty great. I loved that. Just because, like, going back to that worthiness, like, that's like the iconic scene, right? Is that they're asked, why is he worthy? Why this scrawny kid in Captain America 1, they throw and I love that scene. That him jumping on the grenade is so great, and it illustrates, like you said, that it's like it illustrates why he and Falcon are worthy. It's like because they don't believe they are, because they don't see themselves as worthy, but they're willing to take on the mantle that's placed on them, and like that in themselves makes them worthy of it, kind of thing. Right. And now I'm just wondering, will Falcon ever get to pick up the hammer?
Yeah, I mean, could he?
No, probably not. Probably not.
Maybe, but I think that should he? That's a different question. Yeah. Joel, actually, for both of you, mainly Joel first. We have any final thoughts? Anything we didn't really get to talk about that was super imperative before we get to my final and next topic?
No, I don't think so at all. I think everything has been there, and we're still just kind of going along for this ride, and I'm excited to see where it goes. The only thing I kind of hope they bring up, and I don't know if they will, is they flesh out the character General Vasily Karpov a little more, who was the original person who took control of Bucky and made him not so much an agent of Hydra, but he was an agent for the Soviet Union in the comics.
Interesting.
And if you do the backflash, where they got this great backflash where Captain America was supposed to link up with him in a raid on a village in World War II, and during that battle, Captain America got late. The Soviets and General Karpov had burned the city to the ground, and he has this whole argument where Captain America goes like, "You shouldn't have done that," and he yells like, "Shouldn't have done that." It's like, you're United States. You have bombs. You have planes. You have guns. We're Russian. We have the winter.
That's great. That's a great line.
That's a good line.
I love that line.
Great line.
Do you brought that up, the flashback? Do you guys, this is separate from my final thing. Do you guys think we'll get Steve at all in this season?
No.
You think so?
No.
I think he's come back for even an old man Cap to give Sam some last minute encouragement.
Probably not.
I could see a flashback.
Oh,
If
okay.
anything,
He's
I
usually-
could maybe see a flashback happening, like like one more conversation he and Sam had before the end, or something. I don't know. I could see that. I don't expect it though. I wouldn't be, but it wouldn't shock me, I guess.
If they bring him back, I don't think for 1 second it will be a flashback. It would have to be old Cap.
But it could be a flashback of old Cap.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think so with that. I think we're dealing with this is a story about the Shield and about the image of Captain America. This is not a story about Steve Rogers.
No, and that's what I was going to say next is that it could happen. I don't think it will, because I think it would overshadow the show too much.
Yeah, I think so too.
It would create too big of a narrative that Chris Evans came back instead of talking about Anthony Mackie being the new Captain America.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that would be it'd be dangerous and
Be a bit
I think,
antithetical to the point of the show.
I think we'll get it. I just don't think it will be this season. Yeah, let's. One thing I want to talk about real quick, just kind of stay in the Marvel universe. First of all, Joe, I love talking about this stuff, especially with you. I'd love to have you back on for. Typically, we kind of been doing these every couple episodes, kind of thing. It depends really on the content of the episode. If something like a banger happens, and we're kind of like, we got to talk about this. Yeah. But I would love to have you come on for some of these others, especially maybe for the finale or something like that, where we kind of can talk about this stuff again. I think
there's 8 episodes. Is that right?
There's six this episode. The 6 this season.
Only 6. Oh wow! So we only have 4 left. Wow.
Yeah.
That's not very many.
It's not. But I do want to get into real quick, just kind of some more MCU stuff. Our final topic, and we don't have to talk about this too long, but we had Black Widow, and some of our movies got pushed back.
Yeah.
We had now Black Widow comes out on July 9th, and also comes out on Disney Plus Premier Access.
Yeah.
That's $30. Is that the $30 rental?
That's $30 for rental. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've done this with some of their other movies like Mulan and Brand the Last Dragon and some others. They say this is like a test because of just the timing and everything else. I totally see now that they want to keep up the relationship with the theaters, of course, in some capacity, but I almost feel like now every movie will get this. Do you guys feel that way?
Like from now on, just period?
Maybe, yeah. What do you feel like?
I think 2020 has changed the theater environment and the film universe entirely. All right.
Right.
I mean, the business has had to adapt, and it's adapted in some really good ways.
Yeah.
But the fact of how streaming is working now, I mean, it's exciting, it's interesting, and I think this is going to be a thing that's going to be here to stay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if anybody it'll be Disney. I mean, what I think was it? I was reading this week rumors that HBO is already planning on going away, like in 2022, already planning to just be theatrical again. Like, or
yeah,
Warner
they've signed a deal. I think it's Regal. I could be wrong. Maybe MC.
Yeah.
They've signed a deal that the first 30 days, I believe, is going to be
30
in
or
theaters.
45.
Something like that. I think I think it's closer to 30. But it's going to be like this is the theatrical window, and then we'll of course go from there. HBO Max, whatever.
Now it's
VOD.
that's a much shorter window than was previous, right? Like for streaming. Typically,
kind of. I mean, we were shortening the window shorter and shorter the last 5-10 years, where we're getting to like basically if you were hitting 6-7 weeks, you were almost fixing to go into second run territory with second run theaters.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like the Melba, Joel, which you very, very familiar with. That's
I
second
love the
run
Melba Theater. It's a great classic theater.
Yeah, you know, me and my father almost bought that theater. We had a
Really?
we had a proposal. My dad's name's Terry, but the previous owner, to whoever has now, his name was Terry too.
Yeah.
And Terry also. And anyway, we had a proposal and everything. We made him an offer, I think, and all X, Y, and Z, and then it ended up not working out. But we were very close at one point.
Was it a dollar theater?
It was at the time, or $2. Now it's like $3 or $4. They kind of
now it's $4, but I mean, you know, they did a massive remodel. It's gorgeous in there.
Oh yeah, they got some cool stuff. I would. I still want to own it. Yeah.
We used to have a dollar theater here.
Me too.
When I like all through until I was like through college, we had a dollar theater that I would come to all the time. And on like certain days, it was 50 cents. Like Tuesdays, awesome. It was. 50
I was in
cents.
Searcy over the weekend, and they still have a $1 or $2 theater down there. They're playing Wonder Woman 84 right now, and I was like almost wanting to go to that instead of go see Nobody, just so I could see the whole theater. But no, I kind of I have the dates. I'm going to read off the months. We have July, September, November, December, March, May, and July. That's 7 movies. Next MCU, like all 7 besides Captain Marvel 2, which is November of next year. That's 7 movies within a year that we're getting. So they're really like COVID's pushed them all back, but they're still trying to get them all out. You know, so
well, it feels like they have to, like with that kind of slate. You almost need to be releasing digital at the same time with some of those. I feel like just to like not cannibalize your own theater audiences or something. I don't know. I feel like that is a lot of movies very quickly. And not only that, but there's Marvel series happening in between. I mean, we got Loki before Black Widow, right? So, and then we've got, I'm trying to think of the other series we know, I guess, She-Hulk, but that may be the following year. But
it's next year.
Not Green Arrow.
Hawkeye.
series. I think there's some What If is happening, but I don't.
That's this summer, I believe, is What If.
That's not going to be canon, so that's not quite as.
I mean, it's canon in the sense that it's happening in a different universe.
Yeah, and maybe
it's
Marvel,
all canon, Daniel.
Speaking to our earlier conversation, What If I think is Marvel's best chance to show a higher quality animation. We'll see if they do it.
Sure, I could see that.
But there's just going to be so like the MCU has been kind of stalled, and it's such a mammoth-sized IP and like machine, and the MCU is a significant portion of the box office earnings every year at this point, and will continue to be for the foreseeable future. And they've got to get the train going again. I think it makes total sense to put Black Widow day and date on Disney Plus. I would think maybe if they like for movies that have less established hype, maybe like Eternals, where Eternals is kind of this unknown, right? Like I could see that. You guys give me 1
second. I'm gonna hop off video for 1 second, and you guys continue on.
You're good. So like, I could see Eternals being day and date. I'm trying to think what are the other movies we just talked about. They're the ones that are just a bit less like Spider-Man 3. No, I could really see Spider-Man 3 being theater exclusive because for one, that's December. Hopefully the vaccine is ubiquitous at that point. And also it's Spider-Man, and you're putting Spider-Man in around Christmas time, which is typically a big time for theaters anyway. That one seems like you'd be leaving money on the table. A lot, maybe if you go to Disney Plus, because you can do both.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely.
Yeah. Now, I think what's kind of your hype level for Black Widow, Joel? Because I think personally, I'm kind of at this weird place where I know it's basically going to be setting up her younger sister as her replacement, I guess. But I get there is, and I love that David Harbour's in it, and that he's playing. I can't remember his title, but that Russian anti-hero that I'm blanking on the name. But there is a level of it being a prequel that maybe
talking about Red Comrade.
Red Comrade. Yes. And in the
I
trailer,
don't think that's his name, but I'm guessing.
it's something like that. It's something very similar.
No, Comrade Red was a superhero villain in Dexter's Laboratory.
Oh my God, that is true. I loved that show as a kid. Let's see. I'm gonna check his name real quick. It is.
He's played by Hopper, though.
Yeah. No, right. And he looks very funny in it. Anyway, I'm not finding it immediately. Oh, here's the cast. Oh, anyway, it looks good, but the nature of it being a prequel, I am a little tempered in my anticipation for it. I think. What's kind of your level of anticipation for it?
I don't have a lot of anticipation. I was never a big Red Guardian. That's the name of him.
Red Guardian. Yep, I just found it too.
Yeah, it's like I've never been a huge Black Widow fan. I mean, I understand the nature of that and what they're there for, but I'm just happy to see it. I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it. I'm going to learn something new because I haven't really studied this one.
It's fun listening to you guys talk when I'm not here because I was like, I had the answer for that, but I couldn't. I wasn't around, so I couldn't say it.
You had Red Guardian?
Yeah, I had a Red
Good
Guardian.
job.
Kind of real quick, double back. I think the reason why we're getting 7 movies in 1 year is because part of it is, you just mentioned Spider-Man. I mean, there's no Sony owned exclusive streaming thing besides Crackle, which doesn't really count. It doesn't count. They do own that, I believe, but it doesn't count. Yeah, sorry. You got Joe Dirt too. That's about it. But it's true. But they've got that. I don't think Sony will budge, and they don't have no reason to for their IP. And I think there's things in that they need, that Marvel has to get ahead of, at least before. They can't have Doctor Strange happen too late or X, Y, and Z. So I think they're kind of.
I think they're playing catch up.
They are. And to be fair, they're sitting on a lot of movies that are already in the can. I mean, they've got I count. They just finished wrapping Spider-Man yesterday or Friday or Saturday.
Wow.
So they've got that in the can. They've already had Eternals, Black Widow, and Shang-Chi. All 3 of those have been already probably edited to their final. It's a fine cut. The visual effects probably ain't done, except Black Widow. I mean, they're sitting on these movies now, and they can afford to lose a little money on the front end to get their universe back up to speed for the other plans. They can't keep having movies just sit there, and also it gets complicated because you have streaming incentives are going to be different than just theatrical. So like people, it's one of the reasons why Zack Snyder's Justice League wasn't broke up into 4 parts, because now you have to start paying the actors for streaming rights. So because they signed on for a movie, not a television show. It starts getting complicated with just the legal aspect of it, and not so much even the world building aspect of it. But no, I just my 2 cents. Black Widow. I mean, I'm excited to see it again. I'm always in. Like I'm there. I was really upset that Shang-Chi was pushed to September because July that's gonna be my birthday movie, and now it's gonna be Black Widow, which I'm fine with. But Shang-Chi's got a special place in my heart. And
that's another one. Going back to what I was saying, I could see Shang-Chi being day and date on Disney Plus too, but also partly because of that unknown quantity-ness of it with that and Eternals.
I don't think so. I mean, look at Guardians. I mean, it was fine for them. I don't think Marvel. I think Marvel's earned the. We don't know this property and can it succeed. They've earned that part of it already. I think now it'll be more business sense. I think Black Widow could be the only one. It wouldn't surprise me if they say Shang-Chi and Eternals are day in, day out, but I kind of hope they don't. I think they were, if they were smart, they would keep them theatrical. Because it would help the movie theaters if they did that. So
yeah. I mean,
we'll see what happens. Either way, it's a win for all of us, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I am ready to start seeing movies in the theater again. Like I was kind of always at the feeling of like, oh, streaming's fine, I can just stream it. But even recently, having watched, Zack Snyder cut, where it's like, well, this would have been way better on an IMAX screen by like tenfold just because it would have filled the whole screen. But I think also I feel like Marvel movies are going to be huge if the theater experience is going to survive in a sustainable way. I think Marvel movies will be a huge part of that happening, just because of they are the biggest, crowd drawing things in entertainment right now.
Yeah, and they will, but I still don't think that we're actually losing the cinema business in general, right? The actual movie theaters and stuff. What you're losing is the conglomerates that have put so much money in the idea of these blockbusters and all that. Like AMC is struggling, Regal's struggling, Cinemark is surprisingly doing kind of well, which is a weird thing to say, but here we are. It's but they're just hedging their bets. You're always going to have these independent theaters that will still be able to bring us to cinema. And I don't think you can ever actually kill the cinema industry, because you just can't get the same magic of sitting in a movie theater.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it goes back to just, I think it's one of the few communal experiences we still have, and inherently humans are communal creatures just based on our biology. So, like the gym, church, and movie theaters, it's some of the three things that you're all there for a common goal,
Your mama will be happy you mentioned church.
Yeah, she will. Yeah. But I think just even on the business side of it for Marvel particularly, I think there's not a danger, but there's something about having, the next Avengers movie only in theaters, because yes, they can get that Disney Plus $30 down, but they create again an event status when people have, whenever you can't get movie tickets to a movie, which doesn't ever happen, but it happened with Endgame, when you can't get tickets for a movie, where I physically, I did get my tickets, but then I was like, wait a minute, I can just drive to the movie theater and get tickets there. I can't do it on the app, but I can do it physically there. When it starts creating that kind of dynamic where people are thinking like you got to do certain things to get tickets, it creates an event status that will propel them even further into pop culture. They're going to get the movie on Disney Plus anyway, 3 months, 6 months down the road. But now you're getting that money right then, but then you're creating the buzz,
Yeah,
Granted,
I think it is it's that event thing. I mean, seeing The Dark Knight in theaters, a large part of my memory of that is waiting in line for like 2 hours with a line of a bunch of people in Batman costumes being nerds. You know what I mean? And I kind of almost missed that. I mean, we're kind of in a world where you don't line up for theaters anymore, which partly I like, partly I miss. But it is like it still is that event thing where it's like I go out to do it. You have to plan it, and it becomes more special. And especially like you're talking about, like Infinity War and Endgame. Like I'll never forget seeing those for the first time in the theater, and kind of experiencing that. Even I think I saw Infinity War or Endgame by myself the first time I saw it in theaters, because I found a ticket, no one else could go, and I just went. And I still remember feeling like the community reactions, the theater reactions to some of those big moments, even though I didn't know anyone in the theater, was still felt like this giant kind of community event. And I agree with you. I don't think that will ever completely go away. I hope not.
No, of course not. And yes, of course, my favorite theater viewing experience is always going to be my first movie I saw in the movie theater, which was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And to this day, that is still my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever he has, Sean Connery has Indy's hand and he says, son, just let it go.
Yeah.
Or whatever he says, it's like,
should let it go.
Perfect. Yeah. It's like that. To me, that is cinema. That 5-second moment is cinema, Yeah.
And he recognizes his son for the first time for who he is. He goes, Indiana, let it go, Sean.
Yeah, no, you did a great job. No, it's
A
great.
good one. Yeah.
Are you going to be, since we switched to Indiana Jones, are you going to be buying the 4K Steelbook 4K version that's coming out in May?
I got to be honest. I've gone a lot to streaming now. It's just more economic for me. I've got my DVD collection. I've sold a lot of it, but I have a pretty hardcore DVD collection of the things that really mean a lot to me. And I haven't bought so many DVDs lately. The last DVD I bought, and it was more to support Kevin Smith, was Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Yeah, I bought it as well. Yeah. That's why I buy them. Hey, they don't need my money typically. Maybe Kevin Smith does. He doesn't. He's like worth 25 million or something. I looked up yesterday.
That man makes his money off his mouth. He's fine.
Yeah, no, it's the
seriously.
top 3 podcasts I listen to is Fat Man Beyond. I was down there like every week. I would walk by the cantina, the Scum and Villainy cantina.
Yeah.
And the way my schedule worked out when I was at Skydance was that I couldn't hit the metro and get there fast enough before it started. And I was just like, I was so distraught because I couldn't make it. But no, I personally can't buy the Blu-ray because James Mangold's making another one. So to me, it's not complete. So I can't buy it until it's a complete set. But how do you feel about this
are you talking
final
about the new Indiana Jones?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. How do you feel about this new James Mangold final Harrison Ford movie?
I really feel like Indiana Jones is very much like James Bond. You can get anybody to play him and actually be Indiana Jones. I mean, yeah, we're always going to have our favorite, just like you got your favorite James Bond. But I think it's a character that has so many more stories you can tell and so many things that you can go after that I'm like, I want to see it. I want to see his adventures. That's the beauty of them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, they've said, that this will not be the last Indiana Jones movie. It will be the last Harrison Ford Indiana Jones movie. And I'm okay with that, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And
Ford's reaching this time.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, again, like I'm super excited for the Indiana Jones game coming out from Bethesda.
Yeah, Bethesda. Mm.
And, you know, to me,
it's hilarious to me that that's coming out because it's like Uncharted what came out and it was like it's Indiana Jones but a video game was like the Uncharted pitch almost, and now they're like it's Indiana Jones but a video game but literally. And I wonder, I'm
to those games late, and I finally when I played them last year for the first time, played all 4 of them with my son, and I was playing. It's like I think they pitched an Indiana Jones game, and they said no, we're not going to give you the rights. 100%. I'm like, okay, we'll call them something else.
I mean, Uncharted's my favorite video game series of all time. I have an Indiana Jones poster right here in front of me. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I do too. I'm actually looking at a poster of Last Crusade.
Yeah, so there you go. Like, I mean, Nathan Drake is like my favorite video game character of all time, just because he's basically Indiana Jones, you know,
in modern day. Yeah.
There it is, kids.
With more, he's like Indiana Jones, but more sarcastic.
Yeah,
way more sarcastic.
Right. I think we did it, Joe. How can people follow you on? You got a Twitter handle or Instagram account or?
Not a very good one. I do have an Instagram account that's for personal use and stuff like that. But if you guys really want to follow me and do that, my family does a little YouTube series called Institutionalized, where we go around and review local things. We just have different fun things that you can find out in the state of Arkansas. You can look it up on YouTube, look it up on Facebook. Check us out. Click the like button. Follow us. It's been a while since we put something out there, but soon we'll be going on trips again, and we'll be able to tell you more awesome things to do.
Now, what's the YouTube page that they should check out?
Institutionalized.
Okay.
YouTube.
Search Institutionalized. It'll come up.
I have the info, Daniel. We'll throw it up in the description below in the video.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Daniel, how can our listeners write into us?
Listeners, you can write into us if you type in bit.ly/241mail in your address bar on your selected browser. You can write into us, as Joel has done many a times, with some very high quality user submissions. Let us know if we missed anything in our Falcon Winter Soldier breakdown in the first 2 episodes. Have we missed any comic references that were there? Or, I mean, I know people have been spouting off the different ways that they're hearkening back to Winter Soldier and Civil War. Did we miss any there? Let us know in bit.ly/241mail, or leave us a comment at the bottom of the YouTube video or on Facebook.
Yeah, and of course, we always recommend hitting that subscribe button if you're on YouTube, and if you're not on YouTube, what are you doing? We have, I think I've looked it up now, we almost have 100 pieces of content on the channel, and this is only around the 60-something episode. So we are, there's about 40 episodes or 40 pieces of content you're not getting on your whatever podcast you're listening to. So the YouTube has it all. And of course, I would definitely go to our Instagram, because right now there is a way to win a cool free prize. And you can only get that information if you go to our Instagram and check out our Insta puzzle, as I like to call it. And Joel, that applies to you too. It's only me and Daniel cannot win this. So that's the only people who can't win this
I
prize.
personally don't want to.
Yeah.
Ouch. I know what the prize is, Daniel. Wow.
He hasn't even
It's
seen
not
it.
that bad. It's not
You
that
hadn't
bad.
even seen it yet,
You're
Daniel.
Right. You're right.
So you
Seen
can't even
enough.
comment on it. You may love it.
True.
Anyway, Joel,
Won't happen.
thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
It was it was our pleasure.
It was.
And I speak for Daniel. We enjoyed every second of it, and we're
yeah.
definitely going to have you more on than not in the future.
Sure.
And
Well, it helps when we're kind of Zoom focused right now. With some things going on. So we need to figure out though, and that's one thing we need to do is figure out how to combine a live studio show with a Zoom guest for
There's ways
those
to do
things.
it.
But once we are past this pandemic, Joel, we'd love to have you come to the studio too.
Sure. And I think we can figure out a way we can do that. It'd be fun.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Maybe do like a movie, go to a movie and then go back to the studio and review it together or something.
Yeah, no, that's the ideal situation. That's one of my favorite
you-
things. Like
You kids are reading my heart.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
no, we've done that with Bruce in the past, and even Matt. Actually, I think we've done it before.
Yep.
Yeah, guys, thank you again so much. Everyone, thank you for listening. We'll see you guys next week where we talk about Godzilla versus Kong.
Can't wait.
And I'm super excited. And my name is Donovan Thompson,
I'm Daniel Wingfield.
And I'm Joel Williams.
and we have spoken.